KAPA Hawaiian FM 100.3, 99.1 online at kaparadio.com. Kaea here again for Pacific Media Group and BigIslandNow.com. You know, during this time of here in Hawaii, we've seen so many good things that have taken place and the works of our community. And joining us today, we have the friends of the Kahalu'u Bay Educational Center. I'd like to introduce you our Auntie Cindy Punihaule, who has been a part of this movement for some time now. And again, with the Kohala Center and Kahalu'u Bay Educational Program. Auntie, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us along with our other guests. Tell us a little bit about who's joining us today.
Aloha, Kaya. My wonderful colleague is Kathleen Clark. She is a Marine Stewardship and Education Specialist for Kahalu'u Bay Education Center. And Brian Gadangno is the CEO of Raw Elements.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, Auntie, you guys have been doing this Kahalu'u educational piece for some time. When did you guys start this?
We started back in the late part of 2006 with a request from the University of Hawaii Sea Grant to help expand their program called Reef Teach, where volunteers would be educating the visitors how to take care of Kahalu'u Bay. And since then, with support from the NOAA and Hawaii Tourism Authority, we have now expanded our volunteer reef teacher base to over 500 and have taught thousands all over the world. So we are very blessed, Kaya, to have this kind of support from our community and across the globe.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You know, and what's really special about this is a great example of what Kanaka or Oiwi or Indigenous stewardship would look like. Now, Kathleen, with your background, how does that feel being a part of this, and how do you see this educational component taking place at Kahalu'u?
Yeah, thank you. You know, it's really, I've said all along, really a privilege to be able to learn from such a cherished place like Kahalu'u. It really has so much to teach us. And, you know, our main goal is to really empower people and to bring them in and to share with them ways like Cindy said, how can they help? What are these simple things that they can do to help care for this beautiful place that you know, we all love so much? So we really feel like that's our main goal is to bring people in and to empower them to help care not only for Kahalu'u, but any other, you know, coral reefs they may encounter in the future.
That's important because we talk about sustainability. We talk about malama or malama aina. I say aloha aina, but what happens on the aina is also in the kai. Brian,
Absolutely.
Brian, how do you feel and your role in this effort? How has that looked for you?
Yeah, thank you. Oh, it's really just a small supporting role to Auntie Cindy and her team at Kahalu'u. You know, the work that's being done there in marine conservation and revitalization, education, it's really a beacon for the rest of the world. I think, you know, the issue with chemical sunscreens in the bay and in the coral reefs there was one of the most prominent examples across the globe that got awareness and education and science behind it. And through the work there, the outreach, the education, and the efforts to alter that course, they've had such wonderful success. And for us to be able to, through this program, to be able to supply the reef-friendly natural sunscreen dispensers there at the beach park, it's a great experiential educational piece. You know, the boards show the information, teach people about the issues with sunscreen, chemical sunscreens, coral reefs, allow them an opportunity to learn and experience reef-friendly sunscreen, and then hopefully change their practices as they return back to their homes, to their family, to their friends, and then into the retail channels, and ultimately, again, just contributing to changing this course.
which will then change the world. And for this full interview, for those that are listening on air, I'm going to encourage you to get onto our KAPA Facebook for the entire interview. But for more information, you can get online at the kohalacenter.org/KBEC. That's /KBEC. For more information, please seek out our friends there. Mahalo. All right, you guys. So continuing on with our conversation here, you know, you've seen, Brian, you mentioned about the impact around the world and Kahalu'u in doing its part. Auntie, you know, shared before we got on air today about how our kupuna would say, the beach line, our front shoreline is the refrigerator. The refrigerator. And I say this because my tutu would always say, when we used to go camping in Kona, we no could take canned goods because we had to go holo holo ourselves. And that's what you caught. What you eat is what you catch. And she specifically would not bring any food because we were forced to, number one, eat what had. Number two, eat the limu, the opihi, all of the limpids that you can think of, and go catch our own fish. However, if the refrigerator is not full, hard. Our sustainability efforts are hard. Auntie, you know, since 2006, you folks have been doing this program. What have you seen? What have you seen from now to 2021 at the reef at Kahalu'u?
Well, you know, when we started, Kaea, was so many visitors coming to the bay, and it continued through the years. You know, we experienced over 400,000 visitors a year on this 4.2-acre park. And so even with our precious volunteers, our reef teachers, it was difficult to educate with aloha our visitors because of the amount of people coming in. So we saw trampling of the coral reef and our limu on the tidal flats. But we tried our very best to educate and to explain the importance of taking care of place. And once a visitor understands that, they're more receptive and respectful. But because there's so many, it was still difficult because it is such a beautiful, safe bay, very, very shallow, easy to get up and walk, step on things. So post-COVID, we found, like you had mentioned before, the abundance that we see, not only at Kahalu'u, but around the island, you know, Keaukaha and all of these wonderful places. And when we really look at our beaches, it is a wahipana, not a turtle bay, or we need to really revisit how we approach our special places, especially places that give us life. In fact, all of the places here give us life. And so for me, it is about looking at balancing biodiversity with economic recovery. We do need to take care of our community and our families, but we also need to take care of the healing of our environment. And Brian has been such a wonderful partner and target. Kona, again, I can't find the words to say how much I appreciate their partnership so that we can continue to continue this healing that we're seeing in our environment and at Kahalu'u Bay.
That's amazing. Now, Brian, you mentioned that you actually see and you have the opportunity to share, I would say, the newest and the most safest way to take care of our ocean. Is there anything significant, you know, outside of Auntie's, you know, the 400,000 people, that's kind of choke people, in comparison to other places around the world? Brian, do you see any similarities, I mean, outside of Hawaii?
We do. In fact, you know, this past June, on June 1st, when we celebrated World Reef Day, we brought a wonderful virtual campaign together, and that was in the middle of our COVID quarantine, you know, the first round during the pandemic, and a really big theme throughout that campaign and throughout that virtual experience is that everyone was noticing the earth and the ocean returning in different ways and unique ways, and in just a short period of time, 1 to 2 months of us humans sort of taking a step back and giving the you know, the ocean a time to breathe and to show us you know, what is possible. So you know, I think at Kahalu'u, the volume is an issue, and it's the case, you know, in many beautiful places around the world where people want to come and to experience. So I hope that this program, I hope our learnings through this little pause that we humans have taken on our planet will help us and teach us and show us that we have to be more mindful in the way that we go about our life, and the earth will respond.
And you know what's beautiful about that? You say that how we've paused. I love that. I love that. I have to take a note here. Hold on. Take a pause. That's important, because what we've done is we've just given the opportunity back to our Papahanao Moku to take its course naturally. And Kathleen, you know, with that being said, how have you seen this natural course take its place?
Yeah, I think what stands out to me is that it's shown us what's possible. You know, without the pause, we were just moving and chugging along, and we never really knew what was possible. But the pause gave us a chance to see that, and Kahalu'u Bay showed us that, like Brian said, in a very short amount of time. You know, from my experience there, which isn't as long as some others, but to see the abundance of fish return, to see the honu be able to rest without being disturbed, to see the limu grow back with such abundance along the tidal areas there. Just like you said, it felt like the bay was taking a big deep breath, and it was something that you really felt during those few months. And so I'm going to carry that with me as kind of my, you know, to keep that in my heart and keep that in my mind of what is possible and what we want to continue to work for as we return to, you know, having visitors come back and things like that. But it really showed us what's possible, and I'll always carry that with me.
You know, how do we become a volunteer? Say for those of us, you know, we have many keiki, many students who are distance learning now. And, you know, I mean, as a parent, I'm looking at other opportunities to educate my son, my kids, with real applicable life experiences, this being one of them. If families wanted to become volunteers, well, how would they do that?
Well, you can definitely contact me directly. I help coordinate the volunteer program there. My email is kclark@kohalacenter.org. And we've just adapted, you know, as all of us have through this pandemic, we have a virtual online kind of info session that we do. And then our practices down at Kahalu'u Bay are really safe. And we try to follow all the safety protocols of keeping the numbers of our volunteers low at any given time. And we're outside in the sun, so we feel like it's a pretty safe place to be. But you can contact me. I'd love to have anyone who's interested. I always try to say there's a place for everybody in our program. No matter what your interest is, we do water quality monitoring, we do fish surveys, we do on-site education. We're there every day. So if anyone's interested, please reach out.
Awesome. And Brian, how about you? Website or more information for those that are interested in maybe some of the products or some of the work that you folks are doing?
Sure. You can get more information about Raw Elements at rawelementsusa.com. All of our reef-friendly sunscreen there, and also at Target there in the Big Island. You know, we're incredibly grateful for Target to sponsor this program and highlight a great retailer that cares and that is making a difference. And they have a large selection of human and reef-friendly sunscreens there as well.
Awesome. Auntie Cindy, thank you. Thank you for your
Yes.
commitment.
Oh, mahalo. I think we need to really look at how we are malama de aina now, because for our future generations, it is so critical. It is not only about uh, um, enjoying the beauty of the bay, but it's about survival. So our children can survive. And when we look at our uh, the way we start to reopen, and now we're working with HTA and Hawaii Island Visitors Bureau to talk about looking at carrying capacity as we look at different coral reef bays. We need to, in this new normal, look at alternative ways to implement projects that can support the continual healing of our natural resources. When Kathleen talks about this healing that happened, and you did too, it only took a couple of months after the closure to see how she responds. Mother Earth is so vibrant, and we need to respect that. And like we always malama our aina, because it's much deeper than just those words. It is very much profound in the way we and our kupuna have taught us to take care of place.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This is important for us and our community to hear. Again, I'm going to give you that website, and all of the contacts that you heard today on this interview will be posted below this video. For more information on the Kahalu'u Bay Education and component here, the center, you can visit the kohalacenter.org/KBEC. On behalf of KAPA Hawaiian FM Pacific Media Group and BigIslandNow.com, I'm Kaea Lyons. Aloha.